and we understand why. But there's room over here and in the middle, so come on in and find a seat. So. There's certainly still room up front if you want to. I won't use your names as you come on up. So. Or maybe I will use names to get you up. Well, I guess that's all that are going to come and take advantage of my Chief Heaton, Tim. You solid? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. I know everybody's cheeks are a little rosier than usual because of the blustery cold day. I do trust that you had a wonderful holiday break. I was hoping that the coldest, snowiest weather of the season would be behind us, but here we go again, and it'll come roaring back all the way through April, I'm afraid. So I'm glad people can join us online as well as here in our Worcester Celebration Hall in our beautiful new Alumni Center. If this is the first time you've been in here, I'm sure you're as just pleased and happy about this beautiful space as I am. And thank you, Andy Folberg, President of our Alumni Association, for hosting us today. I just embarrassed Andy because I don't see her, I don't think. There you are. But you're short, but now you can stand up. Now I've insulted her, yeah. Yeah. Well, in preparing for this afternoon, I had the opportunity to reflect on our past, consider the challenges that we face, which I do every day and most nights, I guess, and imagine our future. I also had a really unique experience and opportunity to listen to a presentation by Dan Rickus, President and CEO of Raven Industries. As you know, Raven Industries gave a large gift to SDSU last Tuesday, but it wasn't at that presentation. It was a couple months ago. Dan talked about his leadership of Raven Industries and described himself in that capacity as both a steward and an architect. What perfect metaphors for leadership, stewards and architects. Today, as we consider the state of state and discuss our new strategic plan, we too find ourselves both stewards of SDSU's historical mission and accomplishments and architects of our own future. What an awesome responsibility. What an exciting opportunity. Imagine 2023, Aspire, Discover, and Achieve, the name of our new strategic plan, is the culmination of a year of work by literally hundreds of people with input of approximately 2,000 students, faculty, staff, and stakeholders. It consisted of conferences, data gathering and engagement sessions, vision and goals conferences, as well as countless hours of reading, reviewing, preparing, and finalizing our strategic planning document. On behalf of the entire campus community, thank you to those who served on the strategic planning leadership team and to everyone who participated. Would those of you who served on the strategic planning leadership team please stand and be recognized? Yeah, great. So thank you very much for that hard work. In the process of strategic planning, an inventory of resources and where an organization stands at a particular moment in time is usually the first critical step. For today, it represents the stewardship part of our leadership. It typically includes an inventory of resources like financial and human and physical resources. However, for a 137-year-old public institution of higher ed, the inventory needs to be more inclusive. We need to consider our legacy, and it's a tremendous asset. Think of the difference this university has made in the lives of its nearly 90,000 alumni, including governors, U.S. congressmen and women, U.S. senators, state legislators, and cabinet members, a Chief Justice of the South Dakota Supreme Court, entrepreneurs, nurses, farmers, ranchers, pharmacists, homemakers, business leaders, educators, scientists, world-class athletes, and world-class artists. In addition, let us include our land-grant mission of outreach, education, and discovery. Can you imagine an inventory of the impact on South Dakota by SDSU Extension and our Agricultural Experiment Station? My rough estimate is that over the 100-plus years of extension in South Dakota, approximately 2 million young people have been positively impacted by 4-H. And nearly every aspect of modern agriculture has its roots in our Agricultural Experiment Station. We should also consider the impact of the services provided by countless other units of SDSU. Their collective impact is incalculable. However, intuitively, one is in awe just thinking about it. In summary, since before statehood, South Dakota State University has woven itself into our state's history, culture, economy, and community. So let's move on and inventory our physical resources for a minute. Over the last 10 years, approximately $500 million of remodeling, repair, and building has taken place on our 322-acre campus. The 2018 legislature is considering another $60 million of new construction, and we have permission, are in the planning stage of a $20 million Southeast housing project. In addition, plans are being drawn for remodeling Lincoln, Pugsley, and the barn for academic purposes, and Frost Arena to celebrate basketball victories, and volleyball, and on and on. Looking forward down a path of continuous improvement, we will need to be both stewards and architects of the physical plan of our university. While we may not see the level of construction we have in the recent past, we cannot stand still and let deferred maintenance or neglect erode our underlying capacity to achieve our goals. We must be diligent caretakers, thoughtful planners, and advocates for responsible management. From a human resource perspective, I am very proud of and grateful for the dedication and hard work of the nearly 2,100 full-time equivalent employees on campus and around the state. My concern is that over the last 10 fiscal years, we've received salary policy on only 5 of them. And given the societal expectations of us, which are extremely high, this is deeply troubling. While the average U.S. inflation rate over those same years of nearly 2%, it makes it tough for all of our employees, especially considering that when we do get salary policy, it's merit-based, which in itself isn't the problem, but without a sustained policy makes it very challenging. During my time as president of SDSU, I pledge that the annual salary policy will be the #1 priority of this university. I will work diligently to make the case to policymakers of the importance of a sustained commitment to provide reasonable annual salary policy to university employees. Also related to human resources, but from a leadership perspective, we are in the midst of enormous change. In March, we're excited to welcome to campus a new dean of the College of Agriculture and Biological Sciences, Dr. John Killifar. This week, we are interviewing candidates for the Van D. and Barbara B. Fishback Honors College, and we have active searches for the dean of the College of Pharmacy and Allied Health Professions, and due to the retirement of my good friend Dean Lou Brown, the Jerome J. Lohr College of Engineering. And we have announcements on WCINI Director and the Director of Institutional Research next week. And as we announced earlier in December, Dr. Jason Zimmerman has accepted the position as the Interim Dean of the new College of Arts and Humanities and Social Sciences, and Dean Kenchel Dorner has accepted the position as the Interim Dean of our new College of Natural Sciences. Please know that the candidate pools for all of our positions have been very strong, which is a positive reflection on SDSU. From a financial perspective, SDSU is on very solid footing, and it's important for you to know that. We meet or exceed all the South Dakota Board of Regents financial benchmarks, and our audits, and all the audits done in this last year by the state have been clean. In the past, I've reviewed with you that there are 4 primary sources of revenue for SDSU. The first is tuition and fees. The second one is state and federal-based funding. The third, F&A from grants and contracts. And the fourth is the philanthropic resources raised through the SDSU Foundation. So if you inventory the situation then, at this point in time, state and federal-based funding remains very flat. There is a potential to increase F&A from grants and contracts, and we will plan to do that. But we have hard work to do in order to build the momentum to capitalize on those opportunities. Our SDSU Foundation team has been extremely successful in raising critical funds for SDSU now and into the future. We'll know the 2017 numbers next week, but in 2016, the foundation raised nearly $57 million. And since the last capital campaign, approximately $250 million, not including 2017. But in summary, at this time, we are highly dependent on tuition and fees. As a result, a critical part of Imagine 2023 is a strategic enrollment management plan. Its ultimate success is dependent on the actions of each and every one of us. While some of us will have specific responsibilities for enrollment, all of us have important jobs to do if we are to be successful in increasing the number of students graduating from SDSU. And that has been a goal not just of this strategic plan or the last one, but for a long, long time, and it's our job. And we can be successful in increasing enrollment. The demographics are in our favor. For the next 10 years, the number of high school graduates in our region will increase. With 44 accredited programs and dozens more offering valuable careers in a dynamic economy, we will attract students to SDSU. We continue to bring buildings online that improve the student experience on campus. Our expanded Wellness Center will be a terrific new addition, and our new American Indian Students Center something to celebrate. The new Frost Arena practice gyms will dramatically improve opportunities for our basketball and volleyball student athletes. From a brand identity and public perception perspective, this past year, 2 separate independent studies and surveys showed very positive results. The SD, the yellow and blue, and the Campanile have very high favorable ratings in those surveys. And levels of recognition amongst students and stakeholders. And that brings us back to another strength of ours, and that is our partnership with the SDSU Foundation. Highly effective and highly efficient, we have asked them to turn their focus to 2 specific areas, scholarships and faculty support. We need additional scholarships to be competitive in recruiting students. And strengthening our faculty with additional support will pay dividends in terms of faculty success, student success, economic development, and intangible, but very real, aspects of our state's culture and quality of life. The bottom line, we are poised to grow. But in the near term, we have a very serious challenge. At this point in time, we have approximately the same number of admitted students for fall of 2018 as we did a year ago. and sadly, our enrollment last fall dropped. I want each of you to ask a simple question. What can I do tomorrow and the next day and the next day to improve enrollment for fall of 2018? So please ask yourself, how can I increase student retention? How can I increase the number of applicants? How can I help increase our yield of those admitted for fall of 2018? I asked myself that question the other day, and I called Vice President Willis and asked if I could send a congratulatory letter to each admitted student. She paused and politely said, well, maybe it wouldn't hurt too much. No, she said she would discuss it with Sean and get back to me, which was just about the same. I felt the same way, actually. So, it would have been nice to hear a attaboy or something. But seriously, what can I do? Well, I can write a letter, and if I get permission, I will write a letter. But what can you do? And that's the critical point. And it's not somebody else's job, it's all of our job. It's everyone's. It's our attitude, it's our messaging, it's our attention to detail, it's our timeliness in responses, it's learning best practices from others, it's receptivity to change. This I know for sure. Regarding enrollment, we are very good at being who we are, but that's not really an option. We need to do some things differently and some things better. As you would expect from an institution of higher ed, we should also inventory our academics as well as resources related to research, scholarship, and creative activity. From an academic perspective, we have much to be proud of and certainly many things to be excited about. We have exceeded our Impact 2018 goals for accredited programs, and we have more in the queue. We have a new degree in business economics, and pending Board of Regents approval, we have 2 new academic colleges, and we didn't break the bank to create them. With the new Performing Arts Center coming online, the Harding Hall remodeling project being completed next summer, and the ADRDL, Animal Disease Research Diagnostic Lab, project kicking off in spring, we will have additional faculty offices, classrooms, creative space for performances and research, and a state-of-the-art service unit for animal and human health. The last thing I would like to review with you is our relationships with people and organizations outside our borders. I have a philosophy that whatever the state of the relationship, we can always do better, and Jane would second that I can always do better. But we have a strong, positive relationship with our Alumni Association, the SDSU Foundation, the Brookings community, the Board of Regents and their staff, the Governor's Office, members of the South Dakota Legislature, our congressional delegation and their staffs here in the state and in DC, and the business, healthcare, and ag communities across South Dakota. And they're all very, very critical for our success. At the same time, we must aggressively market our contributions to our state in terms of tangible accomplishments and the efficient use of the investments made by the state, federal government, donors, our students, and their families. There are 5 other public institutions, 4 tribal universities, 4 private institutions of higher ed, and 4 tech schools in South Dakota. Post-secondary education is very competitive in this state. In every comparable category, we can be, and we should be, number 1. From a quality and value perspective, we should expect nothing less from ourselves. In addition, our stakeholders and the state's policymakers should fully understand and appreciate this, and I understand that's a challenge and that I play a key role in improving that. Each of us needs to own the goal, that goal to be number 1 in our respective area, to have the best customer service, whether it's for students or stakeholders, to have the cleanest and most attractive campus, to have the best licensure exam scores or passage rates in fields where applicable, to be the hub of innovation and creativity in our region, to have the accomplishments of our alumni shine brightly across whatever stage they choose. And Coach Stig, we must keep the Dakota marker here in Brookings. In summary, as we inventory our resources and where we are at the beginning of 2018, we have much to be proud of and a bright road ahead. Our legacy is strong, our reputation is positive, our campus is beautiful, our academics are strong and dynamic, our athletic teams are successful and a point of pride. We will always be challenged with financial resources, but with solid management, stewardship, the great partnership we have with the SDSU Foundation, they can be addressed. We are good stewards. The challenges related to enrollment, again, I want to reiterate, are serious, but as I mentioned before, we will soon have a strategic, holistic enrollment management plan, and if we rally around it, accept responsibility for it, act with purpose and as a team, I have every confidence that we will meet our goals. Now that we've inventoried our resources, let's be architects. Let's turn to examining some of the critical parts of Imagine 2023. Now I got the slides. An institution's core values are foundations of success and critical in achieving an envisioned future. The core values that emerge from the strategic planning process are to be people-centered, creativity, integrity, diversity, and excellence. And they're different than Impact 2018's, and I'd encourage you to go back and compare. These are so very, very important because they represent choices that we have made about who we are as a community and what we value. We have chosen as a campus community to focus on the success and health of one another. We have chosen to make creativity a cornerstone of what we value. Our pledge is that in all our work and relationships, honesty and professionalism will be integral to how we act. Diversity will not be based on political correctness or expediency, but it will be who we are. And excellence will be foundational to our work, our relationships, and our service. These 5 core values are the foundations of Imagine 2023, and we can be very proud of them. As we review the mission statement, by definition, it should concentrate on the present, identify our customers, critical processes, and inform the reader about the desired level of performance. So our new mission statement is, South Dakota State University offers a rich academic experience in an environment of inclusion and access through inspired, student-centered education, creative activities and research, innovation and engagement that improve the quality of life in South Dakota, the region, the nation, and the world. It clearly meets the mark and describes us very well. Finally, the vision statement. A vision statement focuses on the future and provides inspiration and motivation. And our new vision statement is, South Dakota State University will be a premier land-grant university recognized for high value, innovation, and bold impact. To be honest, I do not believe we, as an entire campus community, have ever sought to be a premier land-grant university before this day. Certainly some have, and I'm grateful for their excellent work and leadership. Now we all are. This is a big deal. We probably won't be the largest of the land grants. We probably won't receive the most grant dollars in the land grant system. However, we have decided collectively to be a premier institution. That is heady stuff. Synonyms for premier are leading, foremost, chief, and principal. In many areas, we already are leading and foremost, but in some areas, we have room to grow and improve. With Imagine 2023, we will. So let's look at the architecture in a little more detail. There are 4 main goals with associated strategies. The first goal is to achieve excellence through transformative education. And I'll let you, as we publish this, I'll let you read the details. But Basically, it's to maintain our push for accredited programs and sustain the ones we have, affirm student success, increase recruitment, retention, and graduation of professionally prepared global citizens. And there's a lot of detail and meat behind it. The second is to cultivate and strengthen community engagement. And again, basically, it's to enhance our work to foster deeper levels of servant leadership, inclusivity, excellence among our faculty, staff, our students, to grow our university's external engagement through extension, collaborative service, community outreach, etc. The third goal is to foster innovation and increase research, scholarship, and creative activity. And the strategies basically are, as I mentioned several times already, to strengthen our leadership and personnel infrastructure for innovation, research, scholarship, creative activity across all colleges, and that will provide economic development to serve our state, the region, the nation, and the world. A second strategy is to increase, optimize, and align the physical resources and investments for innovation. And the third is to create an institutional culture of communicating and branding SDSU research, scholarship, creative activity achievements. The fourth is to be a growing, high-performing, and healthy university. And the first thing we must do is infuse the core values that I mentioned before throughout all levels of our university. And then we need to grow and sustain financial resources aligned with our mission and structure the university's resources to achieve our strategic priorities. So that's the quick outline of Imagine 2023. I'd now like to call on Vice President Willis and then Provost Hedge to come to the podium and discuss how the feedback we received before the holidays was incorporated into the plan and the next steps we have before us. So please help me welcome Michaela Willis.
Thanks, President Dunn. First, I would like to just say that we have greatly appreciated everybody that has been a part of this process during the past year, provided input and feedback, and also during the month of December provided feedback to us on that draft plan of the strategic plan. We did read each and every comment that was submitted to us and took those into consideration as we made edits to the strategic plan that is in its final form. Some of the comments did ask for specific areas to be referenced in the strategic plan. While we didn't include specific areas, and you can see even in the draft plan that you've had a chance to review that there weren't specific areas called out, how that will happen is in the next phase, which is when we operationalize the strategic plan. So while we didn't add many of those specific call-outs to specific areas, everybody should be able to see themselves in the strategic plan and see your work in the strategic plan, and that will come forward through those operational plans as we develop those tactics to help us move forward. So we have made many changes as a result of your feedback, and I won't go through, we replaced this word with this word. We won't spend our time doing that today, but we will talk about some high-level things that we have changed based on your feedback. First, and I guess before we go into that slide, first in our core values, President Dunn shared those core values, and while you didn't see changes in the actual core values, we did add in our diversity core value the word inclusive in there. We added the word respect in there, and so you will see some differences in the actualization of that core value of diversity in the plan. And so that is one change. And we also clarified a little bit of language in one of the other core value descriptions for you. So you will see that as we release that final draft. But moving into goal 1, you will see in all of the goals, as President Dunn shared, that we added some action-based words to even the goal statements. And so excellence through transformative education, we did add achieve excellence through transformative education. So you'll see some of those in each of those goal statements. As we read through the feedback, there was some confusion about some of the terminology and language that was in this particular goal and the strategies, and so we did change those words of flexible modality with language that's a little bit more understandable for everybody so that we all know what we're working towards achieving. We added advising because we heard much feedback that academic advising has been a key cornerstone to student success at SDSU, but wasn't accurately represented as something that we want to continue to strive for. And so we did add that into this particular section. And then we also brought in some of our language on that recruitment, retention, and graduation area to include international relationships to make sure that we call out a critical part of what we do as South Dakota State University. So those are a few of the changes that you will see in that first goal of achieving excellence through transformative education, along with just some clarification of some language to make things more understandable. When you move into the second goal, you do see that cultivate and strengthen community engagement. We did clearly add extension into this area because that is something that is our one of our main outreach arms of the university. So we did want to make sure that that was accurately reflected and that level of importance was placed on our extension. We also defined alumni in those external constituencies and audiences that we wish to engage as we move forward, and then just did some basic cleanup on some language to make things understandable. So you won't see quite as many changes in this area, but there are a few changes that we did make. Then we move into our third goal, which is that fostering innovation and increased research, scholarship, and creative activity. This is probably where you will see a little bit more change in some of the language that, that we use, and also consolidating some of those goals. So in the draft plan, we did have 4 strategies listed under this goal. You will see those consolidated into 3 areas. We eliminated that first strategy, which talked specifically about the leadership infrastructure of scholarship, research, and creative activity, and folded that in to the second bullet point, or the second strategy. And so it is still there and it is still very clearly defined, but what we heard from many people was that this particular area seemed to be a little bit longer and more detailed than the other areas, and maybe a little bit less visionary and more specific. And so we wanted to maintain some of that, but we also wanted to consolidate it down. So you will see a change in that. So we have 3 strategies in this area. We also were consistent in folding that research, scholarship, creative activity throughout this particular goal. There were a few areas that called out just specifically research, and so we updated that to be more inclusive of what we talk about when we talk about research, scholarship, and creative activity, and then just did some clarification of language. We did also note that several people had talked about the final bullet in this particular area. It only had a strategy. It didn't have points underneath it. We did move some of the points from a few of the other bulleted areas that fit under that branding strategy down to that area. So all of them have a primary strategy and then those secondary pieces underneath it. So you will see some changes in how this looks and maybe how it's organized, but the content still remains the same in this section, and I think that's important to note. The section is still a little bit longer than the other areas, but there is a lot of detail here, and this is an important goal for the university. When we move into the fourth goal of being that high-performing, growing, and healthy university, we did clarify some language in here as well. There was some confusion over what was meant by individual and organizational performance management systems. So we added some clarity to that and talked a little bit about performance evaluations and things so that everybody could understand what we were talking about in that particular area. We simplified the financial resources strategy and combined some areas in there to simplify. And then we also added sustainability into this particular section because sustainability has been something that SDSU has been focused on achieving in a variety of different areas. So you will see sustainability reflected in Goal 4. So as we look at the edits that were made to the strategic plan, and as we look forward, we We have updated, we're working with University Marketing Communications to update that final plan that has been adopted by the president, and we will have that replaced on the university strategic planning website early next week. And so look for that final document that has these changes that I've talked about today included in it, and that is our strategic plan. Imagine 2023 once that is loaded. We will also include, because I know some individuals like to see, okay, what did you change and where did you move things? We will also include a track changes version of that strategic plan on Inside State, so you can see the original and what we did make changes to on that strategic planning part of Inside State. So for those of you that want to see that detail, you're welcome to go out there early next week and take a look at that. So we will be moving forward and making sure that all of those things are published and put out there. And there was also some conversation in the feedback about needing a little bit more specificity about where we're going and what are those metrics that we're going to use. And so know that we did hear that feedback, and I will be turning the podium over to Provost Hedge here in just a second to talk about those next steps. But that specificity will come with the development of those key performance indicators and also operationalizing the plan across the university. And so more of that will come in the next 6 months. At this time, I would like to welcome to the stage my colleague and co-chair in the strategic planning process, Provost Dennis Hedge, to talk about next steps.
Thank you, Michaela. Indeed, as we celebrate the adoption of SDSU's next strategic plan, Imagine 2023, we still have several key steps that we must take as a university before full implementation. So the graphic on the screen above me shows a basic timeline with critical milestones throughout the spring semester and early summer. On the immediate horizon, university leadership, as depicted in that first column, that leading column, will identify goal and strategy owners for items within the plan, identify key performance indicators, or KPIs, begin to prioritize goals and strategies, and articulate the strategy for setting KPI targets. And I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and expand on each of those items just a bit. Ownership and accountability will be critical to achieving our collective goals within Imagine 2023. And with that said, implementation of strategies will require a team effort. So in other words, we will be identifying a primary owner with accountability for each strategy, and we will also be identifying partners and collaborators across the university to assist with implementation. Key performance indicators, or KPIs, are quantifiable and comparable pieces of information that will allow the university, as well as our colleges, departments, and units, to measure and improve our operations. The KPIs are essential to assessing our progress, amending our strategies if needed, and measuring the impact of our efforts. To identify KPIs, university leadership will work with the Office of Institutional Research, and we'll ask ourselves several key questions to test the KPIs that are proposed and under consideration by considering things such as the ability to accurately measure goal performance, the availability and accessibility of the data, whether there are standard and agreed upon definitions, and the ease of communication and understanding for wide audiences. University leadership will also begin to prioritize goals and strategies, and that will begin immediately. All goals and strategies within Imagine 2023 are important, which is something that I want to emphasize. So they're all important. Now, with that said, identifying early priorities will be key to guiding resource decisions and aligning items for overall success, as some items are actually leading, meaning that their achievement are critical to the foundation of other items that come within the plan as well. Several have asked questions about setting KPI targets, and we are currently developing and will soon communicate to the campus a strategy for establishing those targets. In general, the process we will use will seek input at the department, unit, and college level, quite similar to the process recently developed to identify our strategic enrollment management targets. Through the KPI development process, we will ask that KPI target recommendations be established with consideration of the long-term vision that's articulated within Imagine 2023, department, unit, and university historic performance in individual areas, and in comparison to peer and stretch peer institutions. Once completed, these recommendations will then be gathered and considered when finalizing our KPI targets. Now, as we move to the next columns and what will happen in just the next couple of weeks, for divisions, colleges, departments, and units, we will soon ask you to develop operating plans complete with tactics and implementation timelines. As mentioned previously, you will recommend KPI targets through your participation in a KPI target exercise, and we will ask you to complete a crosswalk demonstrating the connection between your goals and strategies and those in Imagine 2023. In concert with the work at the division, college, and department, as well as unit levels, university leadership will complete prioritization of goals and strategies, and we will communicate that directly to you. University leadership will also finalize the implementation timeline and KPI targets for the university, as well as work to identify resources to support the implementation of goals in alignment with prioritization. And last, but certainly not least, as depicted in that final column, the university leadership will work throughout the semester to establish an annual reporting template and process so we're regularly and effectively assessing our progress, measuring the impact of our institution, and clearly communicating that with our stakeholders. And if I may, on behalf of my strategic planning co-chair, Dr. Michaela Willis, the two of us would simply like to thank all of you for participating throughout this process. We would especially like to thank those that served alongside of us, the members of the Strategic Planning Leadership Team and the Strategic Planning Support Team. Your contributions were outstanding, and we couldn't have done our work without your help. Collectively, throughout our planning process, we've imagined a greater South Dakota State University. And we're excited, Michaela and I are very excited that we've reached this point, and we look forward to working with you to put what we've imagined into action. So with that, I'd like to turn the podium back over to President Dunn.
Well, thank you, Dennis and Michaela. On behalf of the entire university, we appreciate your leadership this past year on this very, very important project. During my inaugural address, I discussed with you my vision for South Dakota State, and I quoted a French author, and I can't get this quite right, but Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who once said, "If you want to build a boat, do not instruct the men to saw wood, stitch the sails, prepare the tools, and organize the work, but make them long for setting sail and travel to distant lands." As we implement Imagine 2023, Aspire, Discover, Achieve, this next summer, I need all of you to be involved and actively working with your staff and your colleagues across the university to ensure our new strategic plan is successful. I need all of you to inspire those that you work with and interact with to set sail for distant lands, to set sail for Imagine 2023. This is an important leadership opportunity for you. It's an important leadership opportunity for all of us. Again, I'm challenging you to inspire others to set sail in order to accomplish the goals. From the outset of the implementation of Imagine 2023, we must be honest and frank with each other. When challenges arise, and they certainly will, we must commit ourselves to move forward together with solutions. Moreover, when we reach our goals, and we will have reached them together. Thanks so much for coming today. I just have one more thing. So for me, the highlight of every Monday morning is the Monday morning message and seeing who is being recognized for above and beyond. And I don't know who's being recognized, so it's always a very happy surprise, and the stories are really compelling. We've recognized, Mike, I would think 70 groups of people over the last year and a half, and the idea for this was Dean Thorngren. So Dean Thorngren, thanks for this. And if you think about it, that would include hundreds of people, and we just have 6 of them up there as examples. So, from the bottom of my heart to all of you, thank you for going above and beyond every day. You make us a great university. It's my honor to be your president, and it's a great day to be a Jackrabbit. Thank you very much.